What if one platform covered everything from idea to market-ready product? A platform teaching all the AI tech and practices needed for successful AI-driven startups.
This is like AI imagination.
We found that the more specific we are.
We used a classifier, we trained the classifier.
I really wanted it to just be more open-ended for the user.
We were experimenting with different chunk sizes,
having some problems to something.
By blending cutting-edge technologies from industry giants, you can create revolutionary AI products that drive innovation forward.
This was a special hack, it was a battle.
Let the hacking begin!
Hey everyone, welcome to the first segment of today's conversational AI hackathon with IBM Watsonx Assistant. Right now, we are hosting a workshop by Aisha Darga, one of IBM's AI engineer and solution architect. This is our second hackathon with IBM, and you might know Aisha from the previous workshop. But today, she will dive deep into Watsonx Assistant technology and will also guide you step by step on how to access your cloud credits. In the meantime, we'll be monitoring the chat, and this is not only workshop, but also a Q&A session. So don't forget to ask questions. Workshop will take around 45 minutes, and we plan to address your questions at the end of the stream. And later on today at 6 p.m. Central European Time, we will have an official kickoff for this hackathon. So don't forget to drop by then as well. And now, without prolonging anymore, I would like to welcome our today's guest. Hi, Aisha. It's great to have you here today. Stage is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Justina, for that. Let me quickly get started with my screen and we can kick it off from there. Okay. So, hello everyone. A very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all my friends joining from various time zones across the globe. A very warm welcome to all you AI enthusiasts out there. I am Aisha Darga, an AI engineer at IBM. But more importantly, your guide for today's journey into the Watsonx Assistant world. So think of me as your data whisperer or the AI co pilot who is here to help you unlock the true potential of conversational intelligence through Watson Assistant. So, in this session, we will be diving into the heart of conversational AI with IBM's Watsonx Assistant. Let's take a quick look at our plan for the next couple of minutes. So, while I said you guys are all AI enthusiasts, and I'm sure you guys have a lot of knowledge about AI, what I want to do is kind of set the base here and give you a little introduction on those jargons or jazzy words that we use with AI, right? Be it Gen AI, traditional AI, LLMs. So, we'll take a quick look at what these terms mean, followed by looking directly into the Watsonx Assistant. I will take you through an introduction and show you a short demo for the assistant piece. From there, we will look into what exactly is watsonx.ai. We will talk a little about prompt engineering. We will take a look at the prompt lab and have a proper walkthrough of the prompt lab itself. We will try some prompts out and see how we could form use cases with the watsonx Studio. Now, then we would have our brownie point session, and you will know in the session why I call it the brownie point session. Here, we will see how we could integrate the .ai piece with our assistant. And finally, we'll take a look at the entire product walkthrough for the assistant, and I will also show you how you could get started with your hackathon, how you could set up your assistant and kick it off from there. Along with all this, we will have a Q&A session towards the end, and feel free to drop your questions on the channel and I will try to answer as many as I can. If not, I would also be taking them down offline and sharing the response with you. So, I see that we're all good with the agenda. We're all logged in, thinking caps secured, and ready to hack our way to the greatness from wherever you are. So, let's dive right in. To begin with, let's take a quick look at what is the difference between Gen AI and traditional AI. So while you're taking a look at the screen and the chart present here, I will quickly go through some of the most important pieces here. To begin with, foundation models are trained with unlabeled data, whereas traditional machine learning models are trained with labeled data. Now, one important thing here is the fact that Gen AI models are not trained for one specific task, and hence they are easily transferable. Now, what I mean is, if you have a pre trained Gen AI model, you could tweak it using prompts and other methods to make it work for some other task as well. However, when you look at our traditional AI models, they are designed for one specific task and they continue doing the same. They cannot be adapted for doing another task. Now, this diagram is pretty much what I just explained you. So let's quickly skim through this. Now, in the first block here, you can notice traditional AI models. Here they are all siloed. So we have one model, say AI1. We are feeding it a set of data and it does its own task. Now, if I want another task to be done, I have to create another AI model altogether, feed another data set, and get that task done. So, this is the reason they say that traditional AI models are designed for one specific task and cannot be transferred. Whereas, if you look at the second block here, you can see that we are having an extensive data here with different types, be it images, PDFs, audios, videos, etc. We are putting all of them into a massive foundation model. Now then the foundation model decides whether it is supposed to be a Q&A, whether it is supposed to do a translation based on the prompt that you write. What I mean is, once you feed your data to the foundation model, it looks at the prompt or the instruction that you pass to the foundation model and then decides what task it is supposed to do. And this is the reason why we say you could easily transfer foundation models from one task to another with little to no training required. With that, I'm sure most of you are already aware of the impact that foundation models are bringing in our day-to-day lives. So I would not spend more time on explaining you about the whys of foundation model, and let's look at the what's and the hows. Now, the term language model has actually become even more familiar amongst the crowd with the boom of ChatGPT. Now, since ChatGPT has come around, all of us have been talking about language models, what are they, etc. So let's take a quick understanding on what exactly does a language model mean. Now, these are basically subsets of foundation models. Foundation models can be of any type, images, audios, videos, so we can actually use different types of data to train the model, out of which LLM are basically trained on natural language, and hence they outperform and do extremely well with NLP tasks. Now let's take an example here. Say this is a language model and I'm feeding it a question saying, okay, the capital of France is. Now, most of us have a big misconception here, and we think that the LLM is actually answering the questions that we feed in. However, an LLM is merely generating the next best token. What I mean is, whatever input you give to a language model, it would convert it into a set of tokens and then decide, okay, what is the next best possible token? So whatever tokens it generates, the one with the highest probability is sent back as your response. Now, this is a very important concept for us to understand, especially if we are going ahead and experimenting with prompt engineering or with AI altogether. We need to understand this concept. And as we go in the further session, I will talk more about this. Now, with that, let's dive into the actual crux of this session, that is the Watsonx Assistant itself. Now, the reason why GenAI is getting this level of traction and adoption is because of its capability to provide better and smoother experiences at a much lower cost. So you can see that AI today is actually able to pick various new tasks, be it summarization, personalization, conversational search, etc. All of this at a 10 times lesser training required and over 70% reduction in the time to value. So, the key goal for most of our organizations out there is to promise and deliver a smooth, user friendly experience to their customers. Now, how can they ensure and enhance their customer relationship? And that's exactly where Watsonx Assistant steps in. Now, Watsonx Assistant uses LLM virtual agents to address the real enterprise challenges of customer support. It reduces the friction in the customer experience that comes from, say, having multiple channels, having fragmentation, having inconsistent support experience, having multiple handovers on a call, etc. So the aim here is to basically transform from customer service to customer care, which optimizes the customer experience and improves both retention and acquisition of customers. Now, this transformation is accelerated by Gen AI, and we will see how that is done. Now, Watson X Assistant is IBM's conversational AI platform. It optimizes the entire customer experience from a siloed to a unified experience across every channel and touchpoint present onto your organization. It is a no code platform. It is easy to use for building and maintaining virtual assistants. It eliminates that frustration of long wait times, tedious search, and those unhelpful chatbots that we interact with in our day to day lives. Now, here are some of the areas at which Watsonx Assistant excels. To begin with, it can scale across any use case in your enterprise, while it continues to deliver a consistent cross channel customer experience. Assistants can actually tell, show, and do. What this means is, if you want the assistant to just give you an answer to a question, it would just tell you what the response is. Now, in situations where a user might not know how to navigate onto a specific feature of the website, the assistant could actually show the entire path to the user, saying that, hey, click this button and you will fall onto this page, and continue the journey so that you can complete your task. Along with this, if you actually want the assistant itself to do the task, in such situations also, Watsonx Assistant has the capability to complete or to perform a task assigned by the user or the customer. Along with this, it seamlessly integrates across systems and delivers a very consistent personalized experience. You can easily obtain your end to end customer experience analytics. And since this is a no code platform, it is very easy for organizations to migrate or integrate from their existing solution onto this particular assistant. Now, if you recall, in the previous slide, I just mentioned about tell, show, and do. So let's quickly take a look at this little demo where we'll understand what exactly I mean that an assistant could tell, show, or do. So let's look at the first little screen here. Now, this is how an IBM assistant would look. You could definitely customize this basis your organization, basis your personalized experience. So here we are dealing with one of the assistant, and if you notice, the user comes here and asks, okay, I just sent a wire transfer. How long will it take to arrive? Now, this is a simple question, and the user would be expecting the assistant to give a straightforward answer to the user. So you can notice that the assistant has given the answer, but along with that, it has also given a piece saying, how do we know? What exactly is this? Now, this is because IBM is trying to promise a transparent AI. So it shows you from where exactly has it picked this answer for you. So if you feed in your enterprise data to the assistant, it tells you that, hey, I got this answer from the following FAQ. You could take a look at this document, and it gives you a link to it as well. So this promises you a transparent and governed AI. So you have an entire idea about how your assistant is behaving, and it gives you this reasonability along with it. So this is how an assistant would tell or basically respond to a question that the user asks. Along with this, we have show. So what happens in show? Now, assume a user wants to understand how to dispute a charge, and he does not really know how to, go across the entire website. So the assistant would ask, okay, if you want me to help you with the navigation, click Show Me. Once the user clicks on Show Me, you can see that the assistant is giving little drop downs and telling the user to go ahead, click the specific icon, and so on and so forth. So the assistant will actually drive that entire journey for the user and show what exact steps the user needs to take to complete the specific task. And finally is the do step, where a user might just come and say, hey, I want to pay my bills. And the assistant would ask a couple of questions as to what card you want to use, etc. And once you give all the authorization, it would go ahead and make the payment for you. So, this is how your assistant can tell, show, and do various tasks for you. Going on to the next slide. So, what I showed you so far were just some, high level or basic functionalities of the Watsonx Assistant. Now, the assistant is actually way more powerful and has many features apart from that. So, let's take a quick look at some of the features. And while I share this deck with you, you could actually go about and look into each feature more closely. So, here are the list of some of the features that I've highlighted here. To begin with, a conversational search. Now, this comes very handy in cases where you want the conversation with the customer, but you only want to pick content from your enterprise specific documents. So, in such cases, you actually allow the assistant, give it some enterprise knowledge, and it would search through those documents and give you a specific response. Along with this, you could also have voice interactions. That is, you could integrate your speech to text or text to speech modules and make sure that your customer experience is even smoother. You could have multilingual questions, you could have different kinds of personalized experiences with this assistant. So, this is not only text, you could have some cards, you could give some links to the user, you could give some documents, some images here. All of these functionalities are present onto the Watsonx Assistant. So here you can observe that there's a wide range of channels, resolution methods, integrations, and continuous improvement capabilities of Watsonx Assistant. So if you take a closer look at this diagram, you can see that it has a capability to interact or integrate with various different third party tools or channels that you might already be involved with. For example, if you want to have the Watsonx assistant, but you also want to allow some handoffs, say you want a human agent to, pitch in between your interaction, you could do those integrations with maybe Salesforce, Genesis, etc. All of these features are present onto the assistant. Along with this, if you want to do some task completion, say you want to integrate with SAP, Workday, or Oracle and do some task relevant queries or do some completions there, you could also integrate with these channels and make sure that the user has a complete end to end experience through your one point, that is your assistant. Along with this, if you want to go ahead and crawl onto the content present somewhere, maybe in a box folder or Adobe or some of your DBs, you could also get that done with certain integrations and extensions and get this data crawled and answer can be fetched from those specific documents. So this is just a glimpse of what are the different kinds of integrations that Watsonx Assistant can do. So while you are in this hackathon, you can go ahead, explore, and figure out there's so many more features that are present onto the assistant. We are providing you with guides so that you could, explore more. And there is a lot of documentation present. So you could go through those and figure out, okay, what are the other interesting aspects that, you could leverage while you are building your use case. Now, with all this, you must be wondering where exactly is this assistant getting all these functionalities or capabilities from? So here's introducing watsonx.ai. So the assistant is basically built onto the watsonx.ai platform. This is IBM's trusted, open, targeted, and empowered Gen AI platform. Using watsonx.ai, organizations are now able to apply their own fine tuned LLMs for a conversational AI. So, if you actually want that, okay, I have a conversation going on, but I want to use my own fine tuned LLM so that the experience that I give to my customers is even smoother and better, you could do this using Watsonx Assistant and integrating it with the watsonx.ai piece. So now that we know that this is all built on watsonx.ai, let's try to take a look at how exactly do you put AI to work with watsonx, what exactly is watsonx, and how can you go about the entire product. So watsonx is IBM's AI and data platform. It has three main components: watsonx.ai, watsonx.data, and watsonx.governance. watsonx.ai is basically an enterprise studio where you could go ahead and train, validate, tune, and deploy your models. It can be used for both Gen AI and traditional AI capabilities. So it's basically a single platform and it gives you the best of both the worlds. And this has actually been thought through because most of the enterprise solutions today, they prefer to combine the usage of both Gen AI and traditional AI capabilities. Next, we have watsonx.data. Now, this makes it possible for enterprises to scale AI workloads using all their data with a fit for purpose data lakehouse service, which is optimized for a governed data. Next, we have watsonx.governance. Now, this is the talk of the town or the most important piece in watsonx or in the market out today. What exactly this does is the fact that it provides an end to end toolkit to govern your entire AI life cycle, starting right from your AI model development. It would help you to satisfy any regulatory compliance or manage risks that are dealt with your entire AI model. Now, this is pretty much similar to what I just discussed. What we are trying to say here is with watsonx, you can select and tune AI models for a better performance. You can scale AI use cases faster, and you could implement AI with trust. Now, with that, let's take a closer look at the watsonx.ai piece. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is an enterprise studio for you to train, validate, tune, and deploy both traditional and Gen AI capabilities. So, this studio basically has some important components like Foundation Model Library. Here, you could find both IBM and open source models for you to go about and experiment your use case with different AI models. We next have a prompt lab. Now, this is where you could go ahead and experiment your use cases. Say, for example, you have a use case, you want to write a prompt and see how that prompt functions with different foundation models. So, you could go ahead to this prompt lab, write your prompt, and build your entire use case by experimenting with different foundation models that are present. We next have a tuning studio where you can go ahead and tune your foundation models with labeled data. We then have data science and ML ops. Here you could go ahead and build your machine learning models automatically. And finally, we have a new piece or a new segment called Instruct Lab. Now, this leverages the open source community. What it basically does is it enables you to have a rapid LLM development with a very novel approach to tune and train your models with new skills and knowledge. You will be able to explore all of this with your cloud account that you have, and I will be showing you all of this hands on in this session. So here is the entire list of the foundation models that are currently present on the Watsonx Studio. So you can observe that there's a wide range of models that are present for you to select from. So go ahead, explore with all of these models. There are smaller models of maybe 3 billion tokens. There are huge models. There are both IBM models and there are open source models. There's Google, there's CodeLlama. So there are a lot of different kinds of foundational models that are present on this studio for you to go ahead and explore. Now, before I take you to the actual studio, let's try to understand what exactly is this prompt or prompt engineering that I've been saying for the past, I guess, couple of minutes. So, if you recall, in the very beginning of the session, I mentioned that foundation models are adaptable. Now, one way to make them adaptable is by using the prompt engineering technique. What exactly is prompt engineering? This is a method for you to find the most optimal prompt that you can use with your foundation model to get the best performance for your use case. Now, when I say prompt engineering, what is a prompt then? A prompt is basically a way for you to communicate with your foundation model. So, any instruction that you want to pass to the foundation model, you could do it through the prompt. You could basically tell the model, hey, this is the task that I'm expecting, and this is how you're supposed to respond. So, this instruction would basically be your prompt. Now, there are different kinds of prompt engineering. For example, the first one is zero shot prompt engineering. Now, here notice that we are just passing an instruction to the model, say translate English to French, and we are giving the input. We are just expecting it to give us the response. This is a zero shot prompt engineering. Similarly, in a one-shot prompt engineering, the only difference is the fact that we pass one example to the model saying that, okay, translate English to French. And if sea otter stands for so and so, what would cheese be? So here I'm passing one example to the model, and hence I call this a one-shot prompt engineering. Similarly, a few short prompt engineering is where you can pass more than one examples just so that your model is able to give you the best response for your use case. So with that, let's quickly jump on and take a look at the prompt lab. This is my IBM Cloud account. I already have a Watson Studio instance created. What I will do is I'll go ahead and launch. Make sure that you're choosing IBM Watson X here. So I choose IBM Watson X and seems like it has logged me. Yeah, so it's logging me in and you land onto your Watson X Studio. So here you can find all those components that I discussed, say prompt lab, the tuning studio, there's a governance section, all of this. Now before I take you to the prompt lab, let's do a little housekeeping. So for you to explore with the prompt lab, what you would need to do is you would have to come here and create a new project for yourself. Once you create a project, you would land on to a project overview page, which would look something like this. Now, what you need to do is go to the Manage tab and check Services and Integration. Here, you should be having a Watson machine learning instance that is associated with this particular instance of yours. If you do not see this, just go ahead, associate a service, and choose a machine learning service from this drop down and associate it. Once you do this, you're all good to go ahead and explore with the prompt lab. So let me go back. What I'll do is I'll go to assets in my project and I'll create a new asset and I'll say chat and build prompts. So you'll see that we are now onto what we call the prompt lab. Now this is where you could build your entire use case and write different kinds of prompts. You can observe that you could do this prompt engineering in three different ways. Sorry. So you could do it as a chat. Now, I'm sure all of you must be familiar with the chat method. This is pretty much familiar to your chat GPTs of the world, where you go ahead and type your questions and expect a specific output. Next, we have a structured way where we put in the instruction in the given block, then we feed some examples, and we finally give in the input for which we are expecting an outcome. You could also do it in a free form way where you go ahead and just put in a raw prompt and all the details that is required and ask the model to generate an output for you. Now, for those of you who are pretty new to prompt engineering or have a very less idea about what exactly a prompt is, the studio makes it very simple for you. So if you look at this icon on the left nav, you can see there are some sample prompts. So if you go onto this, you will find that there are multiple prompts that are given here for various use cases like summarization, classification, etc. So for the sake of this workshop, let's just, pick one of them, say questions about an article. Okay, so it takes you to a structured format, and let's see what exactly is it telling the model. So here's the instruction or the prompt that we are passing to the model. And what do we say here? We're telling the model to answer the following question using only the information from the article. If there is no good answer in the article, say I don't know. And here's the entire article that I have given down. Now, this approach is also called a RAG or a retrieval augmented generation, where you actually pass context to your LLM. This would basically help you in your enterprise solutions where you want to ensure that the LLM does not hallucinate and you want the LLM to only pick response from the given documents or context that you provide to it. So here I'm giving the context to the LLM. I'm also giving some examples here. So you can see I've given two examples here. This would be a few short prompting. And finally, I'm giving the question for which I'm expecting an output. Along with all this, you can see that the model is pre-selected. So if you want to experiment, just click on this, say view all foundation models, and you can see the entire list of foundation models present on the studio. So you can go and experiment with any model of your choice here. Along with this, there is a very important segment that is model parameters. Now, in the interest of time, I will not be diving deep into this segment, but what I will do is I will point you to a documentation that you could refer because this is very important for those of you who want to experiment on prompts. So on the studio itself, there is a burger menu here where you could go to support and select documentation. From here, you could navigate yourself to something called as Prompt Lab here. Select Prompt Lab and you will be able to find model parameters for prompting. Once you select this, you will land onto a document which will give you the entire details about each parameter that would affect the result or the response that your LLM gives. So make sure that you go through this documentation to understand the importance of these parameters. Going back, so now let us go ahead and generate and see what response does the LLM give us. So you can see that the LLM is actually able to find a response within that article and it's given us the same. Now, one thing that I want to highlight here are the stop sequences. Say for example, I remove the stop sequence and I regenerate this answer. So now you can see while the LLM is giving me the answer, it is also appending a lot of garbage data. What exactly is this? If you recall, in the very beginning of the session, I mentioned that an LLM would merely generate the next best token. So, what the LLM has actually understood is that the entire format of your use case is a question answer format. So, while it is giving you the answer, it is also able to understand that there could be a next question and this is the answer. So, it goes on generating all those next best possible tokens till it would exhaust the maximum limit of the tokens that you specify. So this is the reason why you need to understand why stop sequences are required, how to basically design your prompt to get the best output, etc. Now with that, there are a couple more features that you could look into here. One, if you are satisfied with this prompt and you want to use it onto your existing code base, you could actually click this icon here and find out the curl command or a Node.js snippet or a Python code. You could just pick this and put it onto your existing code and leverage this prompt that you have written in your existing code base. Along with that, you could also save this prompt as a template or a session or even a notebook. So what it does is it would generate a Python notebook for you, which you could, then use for your entire use case. Now with this, we have covered the entire Watsonx piece. So let me go back to our PPT, and it's time now for what I call the brownie point session. Now, why do I call this a brownie point session? While you are working on this hackathon, what we expect you to do is basically form your assistant for whatever use case you have chosen. However, to get an edge or to explore even beyond that assistant, you could go ahead and integrate this assistant that you create with the watsonx.ai features that I just showcased. And in this session, I will be showing you how exactly you could create this entire integration between .ai and your assistant. So quickly going into one of the features that would help you do this. Now, conversational search is one such feature. Here, you could actually use your Watsonx Assistant, which allows a virtual assistant to search through a knowledge base for information related to a question and use that relevant information to generate an answer. Now, this is also an adaptation to what I just told you, that is the RAG concept or the retrieval augmented concept, which helps you to improve the LLM's ability to answer in a more accurate and a more trusted way using your own trusted data sources. Now, here's a very basic architecture that I've put together, which would help you see that how you could integrate Assistant with .ai. So let's go through this one. Now, expect that your user comes onto the assistant and he asks a question: will I own miles for my balance transfer? Now, this is a very personalized question, and if your assistant is going to go and pick the answer from the world of knowledge, it would just be hallucinating. So, to avoid that, what you could actually do is have a set of knowledge base in the discovery. So, what we'll do here is once the user asks the question to the assistant, we will send that question onto the knowledge base that you feed in your discovery. Now, what discovery would do is it would check the question and extract some relevant passages from the entire knowledge base. And then it would forward that back to the watsonx assistant. Now, what watsonx assistant would do is it would take the question and the relevant passages and send it on to your LLM on your watsonx.ai platform. Your LLM will then see that, hey, this is the context given and here's the question. And it will try to find the best answer for you from the context that you send it through discovery. The final response that it generates will be given back to the assistant, and the user could then see the answer. Now, all this would happen like in a click, and you could actually see how you could do all of this. We also have provided you with a guide. So while you're doing your hackathon, you have all these guides which will help you in the entire step by step approach for forming this architecture and building this integration. But in this session, what I will also do is I will quickly show you how you could set up this assistant and a little product walkthrough that we will look into before we close onto the call. So most of you who have already started your hackathon would have done this step, but for those of you who are yet to do it, you would have received an invitation or a mail saying, hey, join this cloud account. So go ahead, click on join now, and you would be taken through some steps. Like it would ask you some account information and ask you to accept some terms and conditions. Do that, join the cloud account, and you would land onto a resource list page. So let me quickly show you another way also that you could do this entire setup. What I have done is I have logged into my cloud account with the credentials that I used to register for this particular hackathon. If I go to the notifications here, I can actually see that there is an invitation that is given to me. I'll go ahead, press on join now, and once I do this, it will take me to a resource list page which would look like this. Now, since I already have another account present, I will be taking you through the demo, but while you're doing the hackathon, make sure that you're using the right account. In case you're using a personal account, you would not be able to do the entire setup because of the limited tokens that are given to you. So make sure that you check which account you're using. Make sure it's the Watsonx challenge account which is given by us for this hackathon, and then start your entire journey. With that, let me take you to the assistant page. So once you land onto this resource list, you will find a segment called AI and machine learning. Here you could find your Watsonx Assistant present. Just click onto this and it will take you to a landing page which would look like this. It would have all credentials here. Go ahead, launch this Watsonx Assistant. Now, once you launch this, you will land onto a page which will show you an assistant architecture. It would show you how to enhance your assistant, and it will also show you the list of assistants that are present. Now, since you are doing this for the first time, you would have to create an assistant, and those steps are already present in the guide that will be shared with you. So make sure that you do that. I'm not going to give you all the details because this is a hackathon and we want you to explore. What I will do is I'll give you a very quick walkthrough of what all is present onto this assistant URL. So here you can find the actions. These are nothing but the flows that I want my assistant to have. So if you remember the architecture diagram, my first step was to search in the discovery. So this is my search flow. There is a flow to generate an answer, and there is a flow to invoke the Watsonx generation API. We will look more closely into this, but before that, there are a couple more things that I want to share with you. So here's a preview segment. If you go onto this, you will be able to preview the assistant that you are building. You can test all your features from here. Whatever actions you have given, just come to preview and test it. If you want to change background or customize your assistant's look, you could do it from this preview page. Now, along with this, a very important part is the integrations. Now here you can actually view all different kinds of channels that you could integrate with, be it your Slack, your Teams, your Facebook, etc. All these channels are which you could integrate with. The most important part that I want to share with you here is the extensions. Now, extensions are more like API calls that would go from your assistant to your LLM, right? So I have created two extensions here. One is the watsonx.ai. So this will invoke the LLM that I set up in my Watsonx Studio, and a Watson discovery piece. Now this will basically trigger my discovery instance and find relevant passages for me. So let me see how do we invoke these extensions. So if I go to actions, now remember the architecture that I showed you, right? Now what we do in the first step here is I go to my search flow. I will feed the customer's question to the assistant, and then I will tell the assistant to go ahead and call my Watson discovery extension. Here I will be passing the question by the user, and also some parameters required. All of this is present in the document for you that we share, so don't worry on that. Now, once the discovery sends back relevant passages, we will call our next sub-action. Or there might be a situation where the discovery doesn't find anything. In such cases, we'll say, sorry, the search failed. But if it finds it, we go to the next sub-action, that is generate answer. What I do in generate answer is basically take the relevant passages that were passed by the discovery, append it with the questions, and then I will invoke my Watsonx generation API. Now, what is this? Here I'm basically calling my watsonx.ai or my LLM. So if you look at this piece, what I'm doing here is I'm taking the relevant passages and the question and giving it to the extension that I created for watsonx.ai. And I'm telling it, hey, this is your context, this is the question, form an answer for me and send it back. So this extension would give me the response and I would complete the entire action by sending this back to my user. So this is how this entire journey would look, and all of these steps are present in the guide, so you could go through all of these step by step and make this entire integration possible for your use case. With that, we are all set to, go ahead and explore these products, go through all the guides that we have shared with you. Make sure you look at the documentation pages, and all the best for your hackathon. That's from me, handing it over back to Justina.
All right, thank you very, very much, Aisha. I'm sure this workshop was super useful for our participants, for those who are watching us right now, but also for those who will be rewatching the stream. We have a few questions. First one is, can we implement offline functionalities with the trained model?
Okay, so when you say offline functionalities with a trained model, I would want to have more details on what exact functionality are you trying to, integrate. Because if you actually want to fine tune your model to have some specific functionalities, you could do that on the watsonx.ai studio. I did mention something called as tuning studio. So you could go there and, implement those functionalities and have an LLM created of your own. I
All
hope that
right.
answers the question.
Yes, please let us know in the chat if this answers your question. And there is another one. Is there a specific use case we need to follow, or we are free to build any workflow?
Justina, would you be able to take this for the hackathon? I guess we are allowing them to pick any use case, right? Of their own
Uh,
choice.
yes. I think there's a lot of space to ideate your own ideas. So yeah, I think so. And there's one more. Also, do I need to use the flowchart method? Can't I use the API directly and create a Python app instead of going through the UI workflow?
Yes, definitely. You could do it through your Python code, you could do it through a notebook that you have, or you could do it through the flowchart method. Any of this method completely works as long as you're getting the right answer for your use case. So feel free to explore around, but if you are clueless and if you get stuck somewhere, just look at the guide that we share with you and follow those steps. So that will get you back on track.
Exactly. Like as Aisha said, there is a comprehensive guide how to start with IBM Watsonx Assistant. It's available on our tech tutorials page. Also, it will be distributed to all approved participants via email. So definitely check out what is there. And yes, I have a thank you for the person who asked questions. So I think we're good. I don't see any more questions right now, but guys, if you will have more questions, I would like to invite you on our Discord server where our mentors and mentors from IBM already waiting for you there, and we'll be helping you with everything what you need throughout the whole hackathon. I see one quick question. at what point invitation to IBM Cloud will be sent. You will get it today. You have to get it today. So if you're approved, just keep an eye on your mailbox. Definitely sometime around the kickoff, either right before the kickoff or right after kickoff, you will receive that message to your IBM Cloud account. And all right, I think we can start wrapping up today's workshop. Aisha, thank you very much again for being here today, especially taking under consideration your throat situation. You're amazing. Thank you very much for all that. And yes, I would like to invite you guys for the kickoff that was going to happen 6 p.m. today. Where we'll have one more guest from IBM. And we see each other later then. Thank you very much for being here. Bye-bye.